Have you ever noticed that the wisest people in the room often say the least? In a world addicted to noise, to opinions, to reactions, to constant updates, silence has become a rare virtue. And yet, if you look closely at the Stoics, at great minds like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, you'll find a consistent theme: the power of silence, not as retreat, but as mastery. Why is it that those with the deepest understanding rarely feel compelled to speak? Why do those who hold real wisdom speak less and act more? This isn't about shyness. It isn't about disengagement. This is about clarity. It's about restraint. It's about power, real inner power. Before we dive into the minds of the Stoics, let's paint a familiar picture. Imagine you're at a dinner table full of heated voices. Everyone is trying to win, to outwit, to prove something. But there's one person who remains quiet, observant, and composed. They're not being timid. They're being intentional. That's the person people remember. Why? Because silence, when chosen deliberately, creates presence. It creates gravity. Section 1. The discipline of holding back. The Stoics weren't silent because they lacked thoughts. They were silent because they understood that most things don't need to be said. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You always own the option of having no opinion. There is never a need to turn this into something. It can remain ignored." We often believe we need to contribute, to respond, to react, especially when we're provoked. But reacting is easy. Holding back, that's strength. When you hold back your words, you take time to choose your thoughts. You create space, space to understand, space to reflect, space to choose wisely. Most people don't listen to understand. They listen to reply. That's why silence is often misunderstood. But silence is not passive. It's deliberate. It's how the wise maintain clarity in chaos. Epictetus once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." The next time you feel the urge to react, pause. In that pause, you'll find freedom. Section 2. The weight of stillness. Silence has a weight to it. It can change the energy of a room. When someone chooses not to speak, they shift the dynamic. They remove their ego from the conversation, and in doing so, they create a void, one that others instinctively rush to fill. This is why Stoic silence is not about disengaging. It's about influence. In stillness, there is power. You are not being tossed around by every comment, every judgment, every opinion. You're choosing your position. You're holding your ground. That stillness becomes a force, not of aggression, but of presence. Seneca taught that speech is the mirror of the mind. If that's true, then silence is the canvas. It's what allows thoughts to crystallize before they're expressed. In your quiet moments, who are you? Do you use silence to escape, or to build something stronger inside yourself? Section 3. Restraint as influence. The modern world teaches us that influence comes from being loud, from dominating the space. But the Stoics knew something different. Influence is not volume, it's restraint. True leaders don't talk the most. They listen the most. They speak only when necessary. And when they do, their words land with impact. Have you ever been in a conversation where someone's silence made you rethink your own position? That's not an accident. That's mastery. The wise know that people reveal more in silence than they do in speech. When you say nothing, others reveal everything. Their doubts, their fears, their biases. They bubble to the surface to fill the silence you created. This is not manipulation. This is awareness. It's a way of seeing the world without the fog of ego. It's a way of leading, not by control, but by example. Section 4. Protecting your peace. In Stoic philosophy, peace is the ultimate goal, and peace requires boundaries. Every time we speak impulsively, we surrender some of that peace. We give away our emotional control. We allow others to pull us into their storms. But silence is a shield. It protects your thoughts. It preserves your energy. It gives you time to determine what's worth responding to and what's not. Seneca warned, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Think about that in the context of argument, gossip, endless back and forths that drain your focus. How much of your life has been spent defending things that didn't matter? Silence allows you to reclaim that time, to sit with your thoughts, to reconnect with what actually matters. Section 5, the inner conversation. But perhaps the most powerful aspect of silence is what happens within. The Stoics spoke often of inner dialogue. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations not to others, but to himself. When we quiet the world around us, we can finally hear the voice within. And that voice is not always loud. It is often subtle, intuitive, wise. How often do you truly sit in silence? No music, no phone, no distractions. Just you, your thoughts, and the present moment. Most people are afraid of that space, because in silence there are no filters. The truth rises, and not all truth is comfortable. But that's where growth happens. In the discomfort, in the confrontation with yourself. The Stoics didn't avoid these moments, they welcomed them. Section 6, speaking with purpose. Now, don't mistake this as a call to permanent silence. The Stoics were not mute. They spoke, but they spoke with purpose. They understood that words are tools, and tools can build or destroy. The difference is in intention. A Stoic speaks after reflection, not out of anger, not out of pride, but from clarity. When you begin to choose your words this way, people notice. Your voice carries weight, not because it's loud, but because it's rare. Silence becomes the space that shapes the words to come. Final reflection. Silence as a way of being. What would your life look like if you embraced silence, not as absence, but as presence? What would it mean to engage with the world more deliberately? To respond rather than react? How much more peace could you cultivate simply by holding your tongue and listening more? The Stoics knew that true strength comes not from expression, but from intention. Not from noise, but from clarity. Not from dominance, but from discipline. So the next time you're tempted to speak, pause. Let silence be your first move, and then, when the time is right, speak with wisdom, not impulse. That is the hidden power of silence, and that is the beginning of real freedom. If you've learned something today, let us know in the comments, and you can join our crusade to awaken our minds by subscribing to our channel. Metaframe University is where the average person can learn to become unshakable.